Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. So, as Janela started, I'm Michelle Salvador. I have been teaching for 20 years in the Ateneo grade school, and this has been my vocation. I started teaching language, Filipino, and math for 10 years, but the last 10 years, my heart has really fallen in love with CLE. So I'm married happily with Dawn, who's also a teacher. And we have two wonderful kids, both in high school, one in grade 10, Miriam, our daughter Andrea, and our son who's entering grade 7 at junior high. Okay, so I'd like to start my presentation today with a quote from Mother Teresa. Let me just share my screen. So God has not called me to be successful. He called me to be faithful. Okay. And as a person faithful to God, and not just my vocation, but our vocation, I'd like to share with you an assessment that we used last school year. So my talk is entitled Creating Child-Friendly Media Assessments for Catholics. So let me begin with our context. So as a teacher in the primary grades for most of my years, we noticed, and we all know this, that our students are very creative. Okay? And they learn better when they are engaged in interactive learning activities. So they enjoy drawing, whether in their notebook, on their whiteboards. So we wanted to carry this in the online learning. Okay? We also wanted to make sure that we are still able to tap their creativity despite being in the online learning classroom. So as a design team, my partner and I really took this into consideration in designing our assessments, even our lessons for the school year. We also knew that they were facing something new, all the technology that we all had to face last year. So as we were building all the modules, we took into consideration that we wanted them to still tap their creativity while using carefully chosen apps to help them and aid them in their learning for the year. So why did we do this practice? We started the school year with assessments, still using the first quarter was still pen and paper, okay, old school, and then we asked them to take a picture of it and upload it. By the second quarter, still using drawing, but this time they had the help of using technology already, so they used the Google slide. And then by the third quarter, we said, okay, we're still tapping their creativity. This time, we wanted them to make use of a video. So 3 different ways. But we wanted to put the two together in our final assessment for the year rather. Okay. So we wanted them to make a comic strip, which we all know our students, especially the young ones, enjoy. So they could tap their creativity while using technology. We found an online website, makebelievescomics.com, and the boys could use this to make their comic strip. Okay? But we wanted to try it out first to see if it would be easy for the boys to navigate. So my partners and I decided to try it out ourselves. We made our sample comic strips and we found it was easy to use, at least from the adult's perspective. But we didn't want to stop there because we also needed the boys' opinion. So I'll get into that. Okay. Okay. So just to briefly go over this, our fourth quarter summative assessment was to make this comic strip, and the competence is to live a life as someone sent on a mission to share the love of Jesus with others. Okay, so just briefly, the doctrine is to believe the church is apostolic because it is built on the apostles chosen and sent on a mission by Jesus. Moral, to be light in the Lord by living a life on a mission of sharing the love of Jesus with others, and worship, to pray for the gifts of the Holy Spirit, and we live a life on mission. So using our graphs, our goals were at the end of the assessment, they should be able to creatively document how they can live a Catholic and apostolic life like their favorite saint, ask God to help them live their life like their favorite saint, and encourage others to live a Catholic and apostolic life. The role, they could choose any character to make their own comic strip. Okay. The audience would be all students, not just the grade 3 students. We actually wanted to include this comic strip to be published in our school publication so that all students would see this. The situation is that the pandemic is changing their lives in living out their Catholic faith in a safe but effective way. So they need to be able to reflect on how they can live a loving and saintly life as a family member and as a student. The product was 7 boxes or 7 panels in a comic strip. This was the minimum, though there were some that went over and above this because they enjoyed making their own comic strip. And of course, we have our standards with our rubrics. So I won't go into the details of the rubrics, but the guide here on the left will be what will be in each box. Okay? Each box tells the boy what he needs to do. And this one, I'll explain further when we show you the script later. Now, to help the boys, we wanted to guide them by giving very clear set of instructions. So first, they had to recall and write down the name of their favorite saint. This was from a previous assessment. Okay, so they just had to remember who was that favorite saint that they talked about. Then they have to identify a difficulty of a family member given this pandemic situation. Third, we ask them to identify a solution that they can do for that particular family member. And then, of course, fourth, the action, the loving and saintly way that they will help this family member. Now, this was the first half of the comic strip that they would write about, how they're going to help their family member. This second half that I will go to is helping out this time a classmate in the online classroom. So first, they had to identify a difficulty of a classmate during online class. And we actually told them, maybe you know a specific classmate. So identify who this person is specifically. Why? Because there's still a way that they can help them, even though we're in the online classroom. And then, of course, after identifying the person, identify a solution that he can do for this classmate. Of course, after helping out at home and helping out a classmate, we wanted the boys to write a prayer about living a loving and saintly life. Okay, so these are all included in the comic strip. How did we do this? First, like I said, we tried out the comic strip site ourselves, but we also needed to find out if it would be manageable for the students. So we started with a pilot class with some selected students, and we tested it. We asked them to use the website. We gave them all the instructions and asked them how they felt using the website. Of course, whatever information they shared with us helped us tweak how we were going to administer this same assessment across all our students for the batch. We had 16 sections, and so we needed to see if we could still fix the instructions to help it make it easier for them. So the results from the pilot class gave us an idea that the site really was easy to navigate, not just for adults but for the children as well. And then this also helped us and gave us an idea that we should give a tutorial video that would guide the students, especially for the additional information that they may ask, or already anticipate some of the possible FAQs that the students or their learning partners or parents would be asking. So after the entire process with the assessment, sorry, got lost. All right. So after that, what did we learn? Okay. To help, wait first, to help them, these are the things we added. We put in our classroom these posts, okay? First, that they had to review about their favorite saint. Second, make a script about it. Why the script? Because the script would help them in building their comic strip. And I'll show you the script in a while. We also needed them to read this one, the instructions and examples with their learning partner. And of course, take a look very well at the rubric so that they would know exactly what we're asking for. Now, reading the instructions is important, but it's not just reading. It's actually understanding what's being asked of them. And to help them, since it is connected to a previous assessment, they could look and click on this link and look at their previous answers to the previous assessment about their favorite saint. Now, then they make the draft with their comic strip script. Why? Each column here has already the step, has the example, and since it's a Google Doc, they will write their answers here. All their answers in the rightmost column will also be the ones that they will put in the comic strip. So if they just take a look at it step by step, then they will know already what are some sample answers and how they can also phrase their own answers. Okay. So we learned that the students found the site easy to use. They enjoyed themselves tremendously while making their own comic strip. They found that they could be creative and enjoy doing an assessment. Okay? It really enjoy it because they had fun while doing it. Most of them were initially, of course, there was some difficulty, but when they practiced using the site, it was easy for them already to manipulate, to change the background, etc. One thing that came out, of course, another learning as more boys were accessing the website, it crashed. This was towards the end of the quarter where there were more boys who were trying to use it all at the same time. And this was beyond our control. Of course, this was fixed in a while, but for some boys who were running late in working on their comic strip, of course, they panicked at this time. So really, the boys who worked early and submitted early had no problems whatsoever. And the saying that the early bird catches the worm is true, at least for our boys who were cramming. Okay, so just to show you some sample work, okay, as you can see here, they have this boy used 7 panels. He used the same character, okay, but he used different backgrounds. So this is where the creativity comes into play. It was up to them how which character they would choose, where they would make their story, where it would happen. Some of them, as you can see, different places. Okay. Another sample work, they used the same character. Okay, the main character was the same, but you could see they're very different characters that they decided to include in their work. So our Make Believes Comics .com is just an online website. And when you take a look at it and use it, it's very simple because all you have to do is sign in using your own um, email address. Okay, so let me show you what it looks like. Okay, so here, as you can see, when it opens up, I gave a sample here, and you can easily manipulate these pictures. You can move them, you can change the background, you can delete them, just as simple as one click or two. So depending on your creativity and how much you want the boys to, or students rather, use this site, it's all up to you and all up to them how they can maximize using this site.
Excuse me, Michelle. I think the website isn't seen. The page of the
Oh,
site.
the page is not seen. Oh, I'm so
You.
sorry about that. Okay. Let me share this one. There. Okay. Now can you see the site? Is it
Yes, thank you.
okay? So, like I was saying, you can easily manipulate. You can make, just by clicking on it, you can make it bigger or smaller or move it. Okay, and then that's why the creativity of the boys or students was really tapped, because they could choose from down here, from the banner below, the different characters if they wanted talking balloons, different backgrounds, etc. Okay, so that's all for Make Believes Comics and how to use these things so that the boys will be engaged in making their own child-friendly media and tapping their creativity and learning at the same time. Okay. Thank you very much.
We will now be starting the question and answer portion. If you have any questions, you may send them in the chat and I will be reading them. Thank you. If there are no questions, perhaps Miss Michelle, you can provide your contact details so they may contact you if they have any questions.
Or I'll put my email address here in the chat. It's msalvador@ateneo.edu.
Oh, we have one question here.
Okay, go ahead po. What grade level? Oh, I teach grade 3. So we use it for grade 3 students. I also put the website po. Um, okay, I can see a question. If it's safe to use, so far in our usage, there was no pop-ups. It was quite safe to use. Every time we check on it, even the boys, there were no comments that there would be any pop-ups for this particular website. Thank you.